Hello, this is Anirban Saha, and you are listening to one new episode of Season 1, where we interview an informatics student doing a student job here in Magdeburg. Today we have with us Aman Kalra, who studies digital engineering and is a product manager in one of the startups in Magdeburg. Let's have this discussion with him. Hello, Aman.
Hi Anirban, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Are you alright now?
Yes, I'm doing pretty good.
How is your life right now?
My life is very busy and it's really fun to have accountable of every single minute where you're spending at. And you see efforts being put into.
Yeah, I know for a fact that you have started your own startup back in Hyderabad, India.
Yes.
And here you're working as a product manager.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
How are things like? How are you balancing? I mean, what are your tasks and how are you striking a balance between all of these?
So here in Magdeburg, I work as a product manager for a company called main.dev and I work about 20 hours a week. So I usually spend about 2 to 3 days there, and the other days I spend on Zoom with my Indian fellows.
Okay. If you would allow, in this conversation, we only talk about what you're doing in Magdeburg because this is specific to that.
Fair enough.
So, you are working as a product manager. Is there any other work that you have done so far in Magdeburg?
Yes, for the last summer semester, I was also the tutor for the course Databases 1. And prior to that, I was serving burgers wearing the Mickey Clown costume.
So you worked in McDonald's?
I did work in McDonald's.
So when did you work in McDonald's?
I worked in my second semester.
Okay.
For about 4 months. And after that, I went back to India for my summer break, and that's where I got the opportunity for the database tutorialship and also for the product management role that I'm currently in.
Okay, so let's concentrate on the database tutorial thing and the product management thing.
Okay.
All right. How did you get this opportunity to become a tutor?
So I really liked the course databases which I had taken in my first semester, and I was in constant touch with the tutor and the professor, engaging conversations.
And what exactly do you mean by constant touch?
During the whole curriculum, I was in touch via questions and doubts and asking feedbacks on my answer. After the course was completed, I was just in touch regarding certain projects or also regarding certain open heavy positions. And one such open position that I found was the tutorship for databases.
So then you applied, and what was the interview like?
So I did not really have an interview precisely for the same reason, because I was in constant touch and they knew that I was well versed with the subject. I had my last conversations in the month of December, whereas I got an opportunity to work for summer semester, which was last semester. So it just happened because I was in constant touch. So it's good to be in touch with them, getting to know more about what the department is doing, getting to know if there are open projects or open positions where they could apply to, or seminars that they could be part of. Keeps a conversation on and also shows that you're interested or enthusiastic to work with them.
Great. So how was it like to be a tutor? I know for a fact when I was the ML tutor, I was pretty terrified standing in front of 30 odd or 40 odd people. But in your case, it was an online platform. So how was things like? How were things like?
Well, because of the pandemic, a lot of situations changed, and evolving with it was the most important thing a person had to do. So online classes was really fun for me. I enjoyed having conversations with students, and the benefit or the best part of online classes that I felt was for people who usually had this fear of asking doubts. Now had multiple channels to ask doubts. They could even message me, they could speak during the class, they could drop an email later. They just were more comfortable asking questions. So as compared to my experience when I attended a class in person, I saw more people or more students actually coming forward and asking questions.
That's great. So did you find a difference between, or maybe I'll store this question for later, right? Let's go to your work as a product manager. How did that happen?
So while I was in India, I was constantly paying my rentals in Germany, paying my insurance and a couple of other monthly payments with no source of income, right? And I randomly stumbled upon a Farafin email which spoke about an opening as a software engineer, which had requirements that I had no idea about. It required you working on cloud, Kubernetes, and a couple of other technologies I've never heard of. But I just applied. And I applied with one of my most shittiest resumes that I had. It was a 3-page long resume. So the first question that I was asked in an interview was, why such a long resume?
Yeah, even I was going to ask that.
So the first question that I was asked was, why such a long resume? Yeah. And I had no answer to that. Because I did not really know how to make a good resume.
Okay.
Until then.
Okay.
And this company has also taught me how to make a good resume, which is precisely 1 page now. So now whenever I apply to my jobs or any jobs in future, I will have a 1-page resume.
Yeah, even I have a 1-page resume and you know that.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. But how did things work out if everything was so shitty?
So things worked out because the current company is a very small company and all of them are coders. All of them know how to code, but none of them know how to take it out to the market. That's where I fit in well. I am this person in the company who knows what is happening in the technical side, not deeply, but I know I have a good oversight of it. But I also know how to present it to the people so that they understand what's happening.
Yeah, but that open position was for software engineering,
yes.
Right? So I'm really curious about how the interview went.
So interview just started with what I had done in my earlier experiences, which included marketing for a well-known startup in Hyderabad and also included my technical experiences in Wipro. But the mixture of these two was something that he got really curious upon, where I spoke about how I've been using my current startup in India to build certain things. And that made him really curious. And that was something which began an experiment with. We started an experiment with where we would launch hobby projects that they had as individual products to monetize.
Okay.
So this is how it all started.
And they asked you to become the product manager.
Yes.
Great. But often, more often than not for that matter, we discuss that management cannot be a part-time job. But you work as a student, right?
Right.
So how many hours do you work there?
So I currently work about 20 hours a week.
That is 40 hours, that is 80 hours a month.
Yes, that is 80 hours a month. And I do agree to the statement where you say that a management role cannot be a part-time role. And hence, there has been days where I have worked more than 20 hours. It could be just 1 hour during the day, helping other folks updating certain things or doing certain tasks that have dependency on me. So that is something that I've realized is a thing, but I don't think it's a huge problem as of now.
Great. Since we are already heading towards 10th minute right now, we will go directly into the other questions that we have.
Okay.
You're working in Magdeburg. You are also working in your startup in Hyderabad. How do you think are the two working environments different or people different?
That's an interesting question. And that is some certain learnings that I've got from Germany that I'm trying to push back in India. So one simple example is hourly works that we do here. In India, you do not really get paid for hours. You get paid monthly or for project basis. But Over here, all of us are paid hourly. And I have seen how hourly payments improve your efficiency or get better with your deliverables. Or in short, you just get better with your timelines because you know the number of hours you have to allocate to a certain project. Whereas in India, you always allocate number of days. At times, people allocate number of days that I would take 5 days to finish a project rather than I would take 5 hours or 40 hours to finish a project. So that is something which I incorporated in my company back in India. Second thing that I learned from Germany, at least in the company that I work, is flat hierarchy. We have no senior, junior positions, and that brings open the environment where you can give and receive feedback in a very nice way. So this is another thing that I've incorporated with a lot of my interns that work in my company back in India, where I do not make them feel that they're just interns, but they have this right to give a feedback even to a co-founder if the work does not seem amazing.
Okay. If I may ask, how was being a tutor like? Because you had to interact with the faculty, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how was that like?
So I was constantly in touch with a PhD student from the database department, and he was really supportive in the whole process of online movement because online shifting of classes. And we used to have meetings once in 2 weeks where we would discuss the assignments and bring out the kind of questions if some students have. And he was constantly there to support us, even in the online world.
You have been a student yourself in India.
Mm-hmm.
You're not that old.
Mm-hmm.
You're pretty young.
Mm-hmm.
You studied in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
You are studying in Germany,
Mm-hmm.
and you have been a tutor.
Right.
How do you think are the two education systems different?
They're very different. From rote learning to understanding is the journey that I have begun. In
And
India,
you need to explain this a bit.
yes, I will. In India, it's always around rote learning. I can give you a very simple example. I've had friends who have memorized programs, computer programs, back in university in my bachelor's.
Okay.
They have memorized programs to the level of parenthesis.
Yeah.
To the level of parenthesis. And here it's all about understanding. So that is a huge difference. It's like knowing how a certain thing works, or it's like just memorizing each function of that thing, how it works. Just know this button is used to this. Just do this when you have to do this.
So if an aspiring student is listening to this right now,
Mm-hmm.
what would be your 1 or 2 maximum advices to that student?
Aspiring student for Germany.
Aspiring student for Germany / Magdeburg, because this podcast is Magdeburg specific.
Okay. I would say Magdeburg is a beautiful city. You should come visit here once at least.
Well, that is.
And it has a lot of history also. And second thing I would suggest is do not be afraid to take risks wherever you are. And finally, I would like to end it with that German education system has really taught me a lot. So I would definitely
You're not finding words, and I'll stop you there and I'll ask you a follow-up question. So when you say that German education system has taught you many things, can you mention one thing that you take back from the German education system?
well-planned days. Just planning your days better is something that German education system has taught me indirectly.
Indirectly.
Yes. I can give you an example. So over here you have courses which has number of credits.
Yeah.
And each credit expects you to give number of hours.
Yeah.
That is well planned.
Okay. You also mentioned that working in this company has made you learn how to make your CV from 3 pages to 1 page.
Oh yes, it did.
So what will be your tips for any student who is listening to it right now? What would be your tips for CV or resume that?
So this reminds me of a funny incident I read the other day where a startup who's famous for building resumes came up with a 1-page resume for Elon Musk. And the statement was, if he can do it, why can't you? Okay, so this is something that really got me curious, and I realized, and I did a little bit of my research on it, that how you should prepare your resumes, or how you should write down your experiences and expertise in a way that a HR gets to see it at first glance. So you have to be really focused on your experiences and the way you showcase it. Recent ones are the most important ones. Longer ones are also very important ones. You also need to nicely depict your expertise. At once glance, a person should know what you're really expert at. And if you can do that, I think you are one step better than a lot of other people.
Could you be a bit more specific than that? Why would you suggest a 1-page CV over a 3-page CV that you already had?
Because there was a lot of additional information there that might have not been relevant for a particular job. So one thing that you should always keep in mind is your resume should be in sync with the job that you're applying, to the type of job that you're applying. If you're applying to a marketing job, you can't really show your data science experience there, unless you've done data science or predictive analysis in the market field. And if you have experiences on projects on MRI data or medical data, you can't really go out and apply for a sales job in a hospital. So you have to have very relevant experiences to the kind of job that you're applying, and your statement of purpose of why you're applying should really be in sync with the job requirements. It should showcase.
But the statement should come in the cover letter, right?
Yes.
And I'll come to the last question because it's already 15 minutes plus.
Okay.
How important is German language skills for you working in this company right now?
We speak English. I am teaching them Hindi also.
Why?
The other day we had sambar. A day before that we had dal. So I think they'll turn Indians before I turn German.
Okay,
taking it more seriously, there are 5 to 6 people working in the company right now, and only 2 of them are German. The other the other 2 are from Poland who work remotely, and I am working here, but I do not have any language experience. So we all speak English.
Okay, and what about the dal and sambar?
That was for my bonus.
I thank you so much for having made your time today for this interview.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, thank you so much.
It was great talking to you. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah.
Hi again. I thank you for listening to this episode. Please subscribe if you want further updates. Please share this with your friends to whom this would be valuable. In case you have a query or a feedback, please send me an email to mailme@anirbansaha.com. You could also send me a text on Twitter, Telegram or Skype. My username is Saha Anirban.